Good morning, this is Dr. Sergio Lira with Que Onda Magazine. We have an exclusive interview this morning with our Chancellor from HCC, Dr. Cesar Maldonado. Let me just start off by asking Dr. Maldonado, you have a wonderful resume and a lot of great information that we can get off the internet. But tell our readers something unique about you, perhaps that folks don't know about you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lira, and it's great to be here with Que Onda, a great magazine that really serves the community well. You know, the message on my background is to tell the readers that I'm just like everyone else. A little bit at a time, we gather knowledge, we gather experience, and we move to different areas of success. I started college in the summer of 1971 with a goal of being an engineer. Imagining coming to Houston Community College as a chancellor was the furthest thing from my mind. And as I moved through my college education, I was really focused on engineering. I graduated in 1974 in chemical engineering degree, and I went to go work for a chemical company. And there I continued to learn. And if there's one thing that I can share is through that period, starting period of my education through today, it's lifelong learning. Incremental steps to learn something new. I became very proficient at computer coding when computers were just starting. And I got to work on some phenomenal projects with my first employer, Celanese Chemical, who valued creativity. And I was doing work in projects, the disciplines that I wasn't familiar with, but I learned them. I learned them along the way. And about 5 years later, I left this big global company to go work for a small manufacturing firm named Textile Corporation. My dad was a partner. I went to go work with my dad. And eventually my brothers joined, so it became a family business. We bought out my dad's partners, and then we started to grow the company. Grow it with automation, grow it with artificial intelligence, which wasn't what it was called back then. It was computer modeling. And we worked smarter. We also expanded the number of employees. With the expansion then came more revenues, more ability to modernize. And the ability to move to something new was, I think, something that really helped my career, is staying grounded in the past, but also looking at taking a step to new technology, to new thinking, to new ways of doing your job, of implementing technology, but never forgetting the value of people. So I can tell your readers that my success has come a little bit at a time, and over a period of years it accumulates. The one thing that's common throughout all of that is lifelong learning.
And you seem to have been exceptionally successful in your leadership from the non-traditional role of educators in higher ed. I think it just expands the possibilities of great leadership and driving forward higher education at the Houston Community College. I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Do you have any special hobbies? Do you have a hobby that you like?
I've tried them all. I've tried fishing, I've tried golfing, and I can point to one hobby that over a long period of time I've stuck with, although I don't have a project right now, is I rebuild a certain model of car. I buy them used and kind of run down. I take them completely apart, and it's the engine's not real big, so I can pull the engine out with a little jack crane. And I do everything to rebuild that car except the final paint job. I don't have the equipment to do that. But it's therapy. I use my engineering. I use logic, and it's intellectual relief because I'm doing something that connects some physical activity with my mind.
Well, it reminds me of General Colin Powell. In his autobiography, he also did that. He rebuilt Mercedes, and that was his hobby, and that was his distressor. Interesting. See, everyone has something unique about each other. Yeah. But let me ask you, perhaps the most important question of this interview, and that is school safety. In light of what happened in Uvalde, the just tragic, unfortunate situation so many innocent lives that are lost. What's your strategic plan to ensure safety for all your students at HCC, but also the faculty? What is your strategic plan? Are you looking forward to some new protocols and changes?
Well, first of all, I want to express our sincere condolences to the community, to the families. It's a horrific event that in our worst nightmares, none of us would ever come upon. It is something that we all wish would have never have happened and won't happen ever again. And all of us are responsible for moving toward that second goal is to make sure that something like that doesn't happen, do the best that we can. Now, one of the things at HCC is our campuses are spread out throughout the community. We've got 22 locations. They are not fenced. They are open to the community. We have libraries that are open into the evenings and into weekends. As you know, Dr. Lira, some of our workforce classes, our welding class, for example, starts at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday, and I think ends at 2 in the morning. And this is over at our Southeast College. So we're open to serve the community and the students. Knowing that, and knowing that safety is paramount on our campuses, we go through training. Our police officers and administration goes through active shooter training, but that's not enough. Our police department has increased their presence. We've hired some new police officers. We intend to increase that budget some more this year. The training for those officers is critical. They go through an annual training on those types of emergencies. And then from the college community, we ask everyone to remember the phrase, if you see something, say something. We're all responsible. If you see something that doesn't look right, tell someone or act immediately to try to resolve it. And we're going to learn from the shooting at Uvalde. What we're doing is imperfect, but we're moving towards an environment where all of us are responsible. You know, you look at the college's resiliency center that we just announced a few weeks ago, and the mayor of Houston's, Mayor Turner's move toward a more resilient Houston. Part of resiliency is all of us working together in recognizing when there are symptoms of the type of problems that would come up here. It's difficult to pinpoint because we're not experts, but we do know what looks normal in our communities and what doesn't in our neighborhoods, and understanding that and having a gut feeling for that is part of the solution. Increased law enforcement, absolutely part of the solution, and smart law enforcement as well, be trained, ready to respond.
Unfortunately, there's no foolproof plan, but to take measures to minimize any type of tragedy is always good. School districts are implementing an app that very similar to say something, see something, do something. If someone has an arm, and you're dealing more with adults, so therefore there is open carry gun laws. So it's more challenging. So can you speak to that? That's unique.
Well, we have a network of video cameras throughout our campuses, and so many that we can't have one person looking at each video feed as it's coming through. So we're exploring artificial intelligence, and in fact have some, but we're looking at more effective ways to use artificial intelligence to monitor what's going on all those cameras, and then point those things that look unusual to a live officer to look at them. We think at that type of model we can scale to be able to impact a level of safety and security that we can't otherwise.
Thank you, Dr. Maldonado. And let's continue with the most important question besides safety, and that is academics. What are your priorities in terms of improving two areas of content area HCC? What are the biggest challenge in terms of academic areas?
Well, Dr. Lira, you and I, when we were planning our strategic plan back in 2019, you and I had a few conversations on that. And that plan was adopted by the HCC Board of Trustees in December of 2019. Little did we know, 3 months later, we were going to hit a pandemic that was going to test our ability to use that strategic plan in a productive way. And we were able to, because we founded the strategic plan methodology based on Hurricane Harvey, on the floods, and other things that have happened in our lifetimes on what the unexpected could be. Going back to the invention of the iPhone in 2007, if you had a plan that was a 5-year plan and you just published it, the iPhone comes out, that changes things. So our plan allows for pivot points, but it has 6 priorities, and it's summarized in 6 priorities. 3 of those priorities affect your question, touch on your question: student success, diversity and equity, and personalized learning. 40% of our students are at poverty level or below. We can be compared to other colleges of similar size, but our environment is completely different from a college next door. We might be the same size, but what impacts what goes on in the classroom and our ability to connect with students might be entirely different than the college next door. And the focus on student success for us is providing a learning environment. Diversity and equity, you're welcome here no matter where you come from, what you look like, and we understand that not all students come from a level platform. We need to get all of the students that come to HCC on a level platform in order to succeed. One of the ways to do that is to provide a wraparound service. In 2022, what goes on in the classroom is extremely important, but student success is impacted by so much that goes on outside the classroom. So we provide wraparound services. We help students with their financial aid and scholarships. We help students with food insecurities. We work with them on housing insecurities. So we want student success we realize the impact of student success from all those externalities. So that's the personalized learning, is we can help you no matter what your circumstance And the personalized learning really focuses on what a student needs, what you need as a student. And we're using a model based on student personas, which is being looked at by many companies and other schools. Microsoft is working closely with us on this. We have 10 student personas that define an environment for a student and what that student's goals are. And then we will customize advising for that student with that model and create a network of experts in advising for working with that type of student. A high school graduate that wants to go to university, that's one type of student, for example. The single mother that's working a current career, wants to upskill to get promoted or change careers, that's another model. So like I said, we've got 10 of those, and we're currently working on implementing. We're at the very starting stage. It took us a few years to develop it, and we have a quality enhancement plan that we're implementing that will bring personalized learning to reality for our students.
Thank you. I really like the wraparound idea and the more personalized learning to create pathways for each individual student. And the different campuses offer different career paths. But in the Southeast area, there are 2 areas that are really of concern, pretty much where the rubber meets the road in terms of expanding dual credit courses, collaborating with the high schools of Houston ISD, and also the nursing program. What are your thoughts on developing and increasing dual credit courses in the Southeast area, because there's the competitors, but also the nursing program?
Well, our dual credit is, in this time and age, something that's critical to the education pipeline. It allows students to take college courses while they're going to high school, and in some cases receive their associate's degree the week before they get their high school diploma. So college degree before your high school degree, that's pretty good. It saves a lot of money for students, but it also, I think the value is in the time. Certainly money is important, but if a student can get a jump start on finishing a college career and going into a discipline, the better off they're going to be in terms of their own life and being successful. Since my arrival in 2014, our dual credit numbers have increased. And the team that's working here at HCC is focused on bringing that on equity across the entire system to make sure that students have the access to a college education. We've gone from about 5,400 students to 8,600 students, a large number of that at Houston ISD. And over in the east side, we have an early college high school where students are focused 9th grade through 12th grade on taking college courses through those 4 years, designed to graduate with an associate's degree when they graduate from high school. So we're expanding those programs into the other school districts. We have very strong partnerships. And I think the numbers, the increase in numbers shows the commitment of the school districts to partner with us and develop, constantly developing better ways to be able to reach the students.
Excellent, excellent. It's always been a very successful program. I recall when it started at Chavez High School, Dr. Garay, but with just a few courses, and it has expanded. Also, the nursing program, I think it's a win-win situation for the nursing, the demand for nurses in our medical center, Houston here, and the lack of the drought or the demand for more nurses.
Right. We are the only college that has a presence in the Texas Medical Center. Houston Community College had a presence for some time now, but in around 2015, we opened up a $100 million expansion that has a state-of-the-art training, a simulated hospital. From childbirth to geriatrics, we have simulated operating rooms, therapy, physical therapy, any discipline that you can think of in healthcare, we've got it at Coleman College for Health Sciences. The pandemic threw a curve at all of us. We're no exception. Our nursing program had a lower pass rate on the state exam, we feel, as a result of COVID. The students learn a lot from the real life experience. They're called clinicals, where a student goes to a doctor's office or a hospital and actually puts their learning to use in dealing with patients. Those types of interactions stopped during COVID, yet our students still progressed through the program, and we tried simulations. We are finding out that those simulations by themselves are not enough for students. We've started our clinicals now again. We expect our program to be back on solid ground, and we're working on expansion. We're increasing the number of faculty that we have and the number of clinical sites with hospitals and physicians. We also have many other careers around nursing, and I don't want to minimize nursing. It's important,
yes,
and there's a high demand. And I also want to point to the partnerships we have University of Houston downtown for students to get a bachelor's of nursing while never leaving HCC campus. And that's really what the Texas Medical Center is looking for, baccalaureate degree nurses. We continually are looking at new careers. A technician in gastroenterology is something that we've recently graduated a class from, endoscopy technicians that work with gastroenterologists. We're one of 3 programs in the country, the only one in Texas, that was started through a partnership with physicians from Dr. Raju, a physician from the medical center, who saw the demand, said this needs to be filled, and now we're starting to create a pipeline of students there to take care of the demands of those physicians that need that kind of talent.
Excellent, excellent. I've always tell folks out in the community that HCC is one of Houston's best kept secrets. They offer so much. There are so many great programs. You just mentioned the Texas Medical Center training for HCC. But a lot of folks are not aware of these programs. But one thing that I have noticed is that HCC is great in getting the message out but perhaps there's some opportunity for more messaging, more marketing, not only for the great things that HCC offers, but I'm assuming that all the institutions had a drop in attendance after the pandemic. So what are your plans, your marketing plans to attract, to retain students in HCC, but also to share the wonderful things that you just shared with us right now to the mass public here in Houston?
You know, communication is always a challenge, and we want to err on over communicating. One of the channels that we were depending on was the dual credit program. When students are attending HCC, that is a form of marketing for that student to continue. But there's so many more channels that we need to utilize. With the pandemic and the increase in costs that we saw, we've shrunk our marketing somewhat. That's going to be coming back. We're going to increasing our marketing channels, and you'll see more of that in the press. The messaging is multi-channeled in that some of it's in print, some of it's electronic, and you'll again be seeing more of that coming from HCC because our message is broad and deep at the same time. We need to cover almost the full HISD area, the full Harris County area, and Fort Bend, and then we also need to go deep in the number of programs that we have. So we're working on increasing our digital presence and our presence in the media to be able to get the message out. Our website is not enough. We need to be able to draw people to our website to be able to evaluate. And it's not just the students coming out of high school. It's the young adults that are looking for career change. It's the older adults that are looking for a career change and moving on to whatever the latest technology is. We offer so many programs, I can't list them for you, but I know people that know them, and we welcome the opportunity to join with all of the channels that I've talked about to be able to get the message out.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to that because, like I mentioned earlier, HCC offers wonderful opportunity, educational opportunities, offers hope, gives folks perhaps a second chance or an early preparation if they decide to go on to college. It's one of Houston's best kept secrets, and I really admire your leadership. So on a final note, would you like to say a few words to our bilingual audience en español para que sepan lo que está pasando en HCC?
Quiero que sepan que tenemos programas en carreras de demanda, donde los mejores profesores entrenan en equipo de último modelo. Hay facilidades de ayuda tocante becas y financias, de ayuda académico, de alimentación y muchas otras. Les recomiendo que vengan a ver todo lo que ofrecemos aquí en su colegio, Houston Community College.
Gracias, y thank you for your time and service to HCC in our city. Thank you, Dr. Maldonado. Gracias.